I am delighted today to welcome an esteemed panel of guests. They include the chiefs of police of the cities of Norfolk, Portsmouth, Virginia Beach, and Chesapeake. Norfolk Chief of Police Michael Goldsmith earned a master's degree in applied sociology from Old Dominion University and a master's in business administration and management from the College of William & Mary's Mason School of Business. Newly installed Portsmouth Chief of Police Tanya Chapman holds a master's degree in business and public administration from Virginia Tech and is also a doctoral candidate there, pursuing a doctorate of philosophy degree in public administration and public affairs. The City of Virginia Beach Chief of Police James Cervera earned a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice from St. Leo University and a Master's in Public Administration from Old Dominion University. Chief of Police Kelvin Wright, City of Chesapeake, holds a master's degree in public administration from Troy University and is pursuing a doctorate in public administration with an emphasis on urban policy at Old Dominion University. Guys, thank you all so very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
And I'm never going to try and read a prompter again with all kinds of accents. I'm so very pleased and excited to have you come on to the show. And this is a very important topic, and I'd like to get right into it. How would you describe public health, particularly the impact of crime on the public health? And any time I ask you a question, any of you can respond. But Chief, let's have you start with you.
Well, I think it impacts public health all over the place. You know, we talk about issues with opiate addiction, heroin addiction that has impact on the community. We talk about the vicarious trauma that some of our children experience depending on what neighborhood they live in. We talk about all of the health issues that can affect folks, certainly the mental health issues that some face and how that intersects with the police and some of what the police have to do and train for. So there's a wide-ranging group of topics in public health that really intersect with law enforcement and crime.
Anybody else like to continue?
I would also say it enhances stress in the community. If you live in the general community, because you're in fear of your safety often if there's a lot of crime in your neighborhood. So that could take a negative impact on you physically as well.
You know, I saw a special on PBS. I'm going to get right to you, Chief. I saw a special on PBS last evening. They were talking about urban development by using parks and forestry. It was set in D.C. And someone was talking about that same thing, how the placement of trees in a park becomes a safety issue. And if they're improperly placed, it can create stress in the community. Chief Cervera?
Oh, that's called crime prevention through environmental design. How you build a building, where do you place all your bushes and your trees, how's your lighting around the building? That's crime prevention through environmental design. Just one more follow-up on public health and crime issues. You know, if a young child, suffers from some kind of issue, and it could be something as simple as a sight problem, they can't get the proper education. We know that 48% of our people who are incarcerated don't have a high school diploma. So as early as taking a child and making sure that they have the proper health related issues will help them in school. And as we know, if you educate, we don't have to incarcerate later.
Chief Wright?
In full agreement. And there's such a diversity of people that the law enforcement officer comes into contact with. We train all of our officers in a broad spectrum of some of the things that they may encounter, whether someone may be autistic, someone may be suffering from mental health issues, someone may be diabetic and might be experiencing some type of problems with surrounding their diabetes. And we have to train our people so they understand what they're seeing and apply the appropriate remedy or strategy to make sure that they not only call for an ambulance, but perhaps someone who may be having mental health issues. We train our people in what's known as CIT, critical incident training, so that they equipped with some skills so that they can give somebody some counseling, although brief, but get them in connection with the right resource, whether we take them to a drop-off center. We have certain hospitals we've contracted with, we work with to drop people off who agree that they need someone to talk to. We can take them so they can get some assistance.
And frequently you guys get calls that are related to mental health.
Without a doubt. I would dare say that for us, a large percentage of our calls now involve someone with mental health issues, which requires a great deal of resources, not just from the police department, but from the health department side as well, and it absorbs a lot of our time.
You know, at one point, I did a fatherhood campaign for incarcerated men, starting at the Norfolk City Jail, and I eventually did it at the Hampton Roads Regional Jail in Indian Creek. And for me, it was a very insightful thing about the incarcerated population and indeed the environments that they come from and so forth. But I was doing it as someone from the community. How important is community engagement in public health? Can you respond to that in terms of how community engagement impacts public health? And any of you, if you'd like to interject there.
At least for our department, community engagement is the cornerstone that we build a lot of our stuff on. A lot of our methodologies and ways that we want to relate to our community. We put officers in schools. You heard Chief Cervera talk about literacy rates and how they are related to incarceration rates. Well, we've got officers in the schools now. Over 50 of our officers with the Life Enrichment Center help tutor in our Title I schools. The whole idea being is if we can get in there and bond with a child and help that child learn how to read, that's a much better use of our time than ended up later on down the road, having to lock this child up, because they haven't gotten all the things that they needed to get. So we also partner with our Boys and Girls Club to do, this afternoon there'll be a group of officers to go share a meal with the young men and women that are at the Boys Club after school. It's all about trying to get in and provide that positive environment so that these young people can benefit from that. And we benefit as well. One of the things that happens to a police officer is you go in and out of each call, and you go in, you handle the call, and then you go to the next call. And there's a real danger that the officer starts to see not human beings or not people, but calls for service, cases, reports, things of that nature, and they lose a connection that we should all have with one another. So by putting them in these environments where they have to reach out, where they have to bond with somebody, where they get to know who the community is, that makes them better. Because now it's not about just a case, it's about I know this person, and I know their family, I know their situation, and I think it makes for a better police officer at the end of the day.
So that community involvement from your perspective, from the perspective of a police officer. Sure. How about community engagement from folks in the community? And we're going to talk about community policing a little bit later, but how about community engagement generally from the perspective of someone in the community? What kind of role, Chief?
I would dare say that it's probably prevalent through all of our agencies, because we have a number of people who reach out to us telling us about the services that they offer, whether they're fraternal organizations, faith-based organizations, or people who are nonprofits that offer counseling, educational opportunities, mentoring. They work with us so that when we encounter someone who needs those types of services, we are able to connect the need with the demand as best we can. And I think that that's important, because there will be times where you come in contact with someone, they're experiencing a problem, they don't know where to go, and they call us, and we end up being that, opportunity for them to, or that person that provide an opportunity for them to find the right resource or the right remedy that solves their problem, or at least attempts to address their problem. And I think that that's important, and I think that we do a very good job at that with regards to community engagement.
I bet you guys get a lot of the things other than 911 calls that are for all kinds of community issues. Chief Cervera, you were going to say something.
To follow up on what Chief Wright just said, for a number of years it was police officers enforce the law. That's what they were told. We were told coming up through the ranks, that's what we do. It's not the case. Police officers are agents of social change. They're the first ones that see the issue in society, and as Kelvin just said, they're the ones who then get the right assistance to ameliorate that problem. We see that constantly and continually. We talked about mental health issues. We talked about the autistic population. Remember, folks don't walk around with a sign that says, I have a mental health problem, or I am autistic. The officer has to figure that out and then get them the right assistance that they need, divert them away from the criminal justice system. divert them towards whatever system that they need, be it social assistance or whatever other assistance that
Substance
they may need.
abuse.
And these young officers do this all the time. We just don't hear about it because it's what they do, so to speak. We will hear about when something doesn't go to the right place very quickly. But just as an example, we do something, we knock on doors every year and we do a survey. Now this survey is not a scientifically proven survey. It puts a police officer knocking on a door talking to a citizen, usually in multifamily neighborhoods, usually in neighborhoods that have some social stressors to them. And we ask a series of questions. And from there we're able to design what we could do for the neighborhood. But the second most important part is it takes a young police officer and a citizen who would never have spoken to each other having a conversation about a common issue, and that is, how do we make this neighborhood a better place for you?
I'm curious, how does a police officer approach that? Because most times when someone sees a police officer approaching, so something's up, you know. So how do you get around that? How do you
what we do, last
that?
year, we completed 2,000 door-to-door surveys. Now we knocked on almost 3,000 doors. The young police officers go out, they go out with a large contingent of officers. By the way, all the commanders go with them, the deputy chiefs and the chief. So it is a department experience for everyone. And what they find is that the citizens really like the young cops. They really do. And they have a lot of commonality when it comes to how do we make this a better neighborhood? What could I do for you? And so the young officers approach it very positive, and at the end of the night of doing it in a certain neighborhood, surveys in a certain neighborhood, they come away with a very positive attitude. The good news is, so do the citizens.
I'm sure. Chief Goldsmith, you were talking about an officer going to one call, and when that call is finished, having to go to another. Do you guys see fatigue, like you might encounter that even on a daily basis? Do you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things that I know my colleagues worry about, as well as I do, I think every chief across the country worries about, is officer burnout. And what are we doing about the mental health for our officers? When you look at the stress that they're under, you know, going from call to call, you know, I often comment that our officers see the worst of the worst, they see the best of the best. But when they see the worst of the worst, it's before it's gone to the hospital, it's before the paramedic has gotten there to deliver treatment. They're seeing it in all of its gory splendor right there. And they see it over and over again. So, you know, what we worry about is how does that affect the officer over time? And, you know, one of the things I know that the International Association of Chiefs of Police have become very cognizant of, and it's also a part of the President's Commission report on 21st century policing, dealing with officer wellness. How do we make sure that we have structures in place where our officers feel secure in going to get the help that they need should they start to suffer some stress-induced mental health issues? You know, I can tell you when I first came on, we didn't pay any attention to it. And what happened was you saw broken marriages, you saw people having affairs, you saw substance abuse, usually in the form of alcohol. You saw all kinds of behavior that were counterproductive to the police officer. And now, I think most of us have programs in place where we have peer counselors, we have folks that are trained, we have employee assistance programs that we encourage our officers to go to make sure that they get the help that they need before it becomes a problem. Because that certainly, it does not help the community, and it doesn't help the department to have an officer who is suffering from one of those issues out there trying to do police work.
Chief Chapman, you are new in your position, not even 2 months yet. And again, I appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with us. What have you seen in Portsmouth or in your career in terms of this very issue of police?
I totally agree with Chief Goldsmith. Like he said, over the years we've developed programs like critical incident stress management, where your peers are actually observing whether an officer is in crisis or headed towards that direction and may sit down. But we also have faith leaders that take the time to come out and are available to speak with our officers if they want to speak with them, or employee assistance programs. So there are programs that we have put in place, but you know, It's also the onus is on the supervisors to recognize if there's an issue with an officer, and that you need to pull them aside and try and delve into what the issues are and so we can try and fix it or head it off at the path.
And the supervisors get some guidance on how to identify an officer that might be having some challenges. You guys spoke of that you have like an informal, not so much alliance to one another, but you tend to be on the same page when it comes to the way you approach policing in your community. So I want to ask you a question. And as we were preparing for our discussion today, we felt that we needed to really talk about the elephant in the room, the type of topics that we see frequently in the media when it comes to things like racial profiling and so forth. And I'd like to specifically deal with that and your thoughts on the impact of racial profiling on the public health.
I think that it's a very good topic to talk about, and then certainly I hope we have enough time to get through it all. No, actually, I think it was, what, Jim, about January 2 years ago or a year ago, he ran a school in his city about implicit bias, and he brought in a nationally known expert to talk about it, and he invited me, and I certainly know that Mike had some people there as well. To sit
so this was, I'm sorry, I know you did that last year in Norfolk, but you did the same thing in Virginia Beach?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry. Go
Absolutely. And we were all in the room, and for me, it was the first time I've ever been in a forum or a setting with private citizens and police officers. So the voices that you hear are not just your voices,
Understood.
but you hear the voices of people who are everyday folk who come into contact, who have had an encounter with police, whether it was positive, negative, what have you. But we talk about bias and how bias affects people's vision of everybody. And many times that implicit bias is unknown to the individual, whether it's the citizen or the officers. It's in everything. It's in medicine, it's in education, it's in law enforcement. It's a part of the social fabric. But her task was to bring it to our attention so we understand how it affects how we see people and how we decide how we're going to deal with people. And for me, it was some of the best training I've had in my whole career. And we've committed ourselves, our department, to impart the same type of training to all of our officers so they understand how the public sees them and how they see the public, and how they can better manage that encounter and manage their own implicit bias that they may be totally unaware of.
Well, again, this is something that I was going to address to Chief Goldsmith, so I'm glad we have the opportunity to talk about it now. Reflecting back on that training, can you share with us the type of triggers that were identified to let someone know that they were encountering a bias that they may not have been previously aware that they had?
Well, one of the situations the young lady made us aware of is bias that is imparted to us by others. For instance, in your neighborhood, you see a car that's unfamiliar to you, but in that car is someone who is also perhaps different than you, younger, older, black or white, what have you. And you call 911 and say, I think the vehicle is suspicious. But what is really suspicious? Is it improper? Is it illegal that someone who is different than you sitting in a car, could they not be waiting for their friend or what have you? But yet 911, we will get the call, we will respond, and we will encounter the person. And the person we encounter may feel as if they're being racially profiled. So it was important to us to identify that and say, how do we actually deal with the situation from a crime problem versus a social problem? Is this person really suspicious? And how do we approach that person in such a manner that they don't feel as if we believe them to be suspicious? Mm-hmm. And that alters the manner in which we enforce crime or enforce laws and how we deal with crime. And I think that's important so that we're not being swayed by someone else's implicit bias.
Understood. Mm-hmm. Anyone else care to contribute to that conversation?
We thought we did much like Jim did. We brought Dr. Friedel into our department, mm-hmm. and we had the same thing. Our command staff, from me on down, attended the training. We had her come in and talk. We had members of our community come in with that training, and it was a great discussion. It really sensitized everybody to all the stuff that's going on that we need to be aware of. And then we took that training and we did the train the trainer, and now we train our whole department's been through it, and it's now part of our recruit training. So every recruit gets fair and impartial policing training before they get on the street. But probably one of the best things that came about for us is as you go through the class, you have to put together, there's a questionnaire that's given, a survey that's given, and we talk about the work that needs to be done. So what we did was we took the community members that were in that class with us, and we put them in the room with some of our command staff, and we formed what's called a fair and impartial policing policy group. And they meet once or twice a month, and right now they're going over our policies, they're going through all of them, and they're actually helping us adjust these policies to try to eliminate any bias that might be in them, to try to make sure they're citizen friendly. And there's some really great discussions that take place across that table. Some of the discussions are uncomfortable because they are going to point out things that we're not aware of. But it's just there are discussions that need to be had. So we're really, that really is one of the best things that came out of that training, is being able to put that group together and put them to work. Being able to close some of these gaps.
When you have, and again, this is a question for each of you, and all of your years of policing, surely you have seen some incidences where an officer has been clearly guilty of being biased, whether they're aware of it or not. Yeah, how would you deal with that? What kind of counseling? What do you do in that kind of situation? Chief Severi, you want to respond?
Well, we take a very cold, hard look at it. And there's been instances where officers no longer need to be officers. I can speak
You've
for my...
seen that in your...
Yes, where we've told people that word that you just used is never going to be used again. And we will come on it from a discipline angle or from a training and education angle. Sometimes people do things, and when you speak to them, they don't even realize what happened, and you say, so we're going to educate, we're going to train, we're going to talk about it. But then every now and then there's a police officer who does something, and to be very honest, they don't need to be a police officer. This isn't the right line of work for you. Right. To follow up on what my colleagues have said about reaching out to the community, what you've heard is a lot of one-on-one individual conversations that happen, and that's how you really begin to win over and build credibility in your community, because it's difficult to dislike up close, but it's easy to dislike far away. So when we have that conversation, and we do this a lot, our officers, it's called stop, walk, and talk. And years ago, we never allowed that in policing. Now it's get out of your car and go and have conversations with folks about, I don't care, and what the conversation is. And what we're finding is more and more of the citizens realize the police officers are there for the positive reasons, and more of those officers are realizing that that citizen, maybe a different ethnicity, maybe a different race or religion, is really a good citizen. And all we need to do is talk to each other.
I think Mike said it earlier. Part of the problem is the volume of work that our officers deal with, where everything's a call. Tonight, I'll graduate 13 officers from Basic Police Academy. And two of the things I'm going to tell them is, one, take time to enjoy the moment. Every moment of the day is an opportunity to be thankful for whatever you have and whatever you're experiencing. The second thing is that they're going to encounter people on the worst moment of their lives. Here is the opportunity to meet somebody on a human level and make something special happen for them. You may not be able to resolve, make everything perfect for them, but if you meet that person on a human level, I think they have a different and better, deep appreciation for what it is that we do, knowing that we truly care about what it is that they're experiencing at that time. And for me, I think that that's the philosophy, or part of the philosophy, that we must have in law enforcement in order for us to be successful and regain the public's confidence. Because at the end of the day, all our problems are human problems. They're not problems with things, they're problems with people. And we need to be able to help people in the worst moment. They're not looking for somebody to condemn them, look down on them. They're looking for somebody to help them. And that's what we're in this job for, is to help people.
Let's talk about what happens when a police officer responds to a call. And let's say it is, initially let's take a look at a call that is not necessarily a dangerous situation, but a police officer gets a call and he shows up on the scene. Is there something like a checklist of things that an officer is expected to do when arriving on the scene?
Well, it depends upon what it is. And certainly we train them for just about everything that they're going to encounter. How to greet people, certainly, you know. How to show empathy, really. How to show empathy for somebody who's having a bad moment. A great number of the people we come into contact with are not bad people. They're just in bad situations, whether they're on the victim side or the perpetrator side. And that's one of the things to keep in mind, is that even people who have done bad things, they're not necessarily bad people. They've made bad decisions. But yes, we give them all the tools, a great deal of tools on how to deal with whatever situation that they're dealing with. But the tools that they have to have are the interpersonal tool, that skill to deal with somebody on a human level.
Anyone else like to contribute?
I mean, I know it depends on the scene. Like the chief said, like if it's a car accident, you have a mental checklist of everything you need to do. You know, first make sure there are no injuries. If you're able to, get the cars out the road. So you have specific steps. Like if it's a homicide scene, you're going to come, you're going to secure the area, you're going to separate the witnesses, make sure the scene's safe. You know, you may need to put up some guard, make sure your detectives are there. So there are mental, like Chief Wright said, we prepare them for almost every incident that they could possibly encounter, and it's a matter of going back into that toolbox and pulling out the correct.
Just remember, if I may, one thing. While we're preparing our officers, we're training them as hard as we can. We give them all the tools that they need. The other person didn't get the same training.
Right.
Understood.
So that's the reaction that we have to have off the other person.
Okay, that makes for a perfect segue to my next question. I share with each of you an experience I had in D.C. many years ago. I was stopped by a police officer for speeding. I'm going to plead the fifth on whether or not I was really speeding. But I was stopped for speeding. And back in those days, you could stand up, you get out of your car and talk to the officer. And he asked me for my vehicle registration. And I bent over to reach into my glove compartment, and he jumped back and he slapped his hand on his revolver. And I said, okay, I'm just getting my registration. And I had the occasion to think about that experience again recently when someone was, an officer shot someone, I guess it was somewhere in the South, who, under the same kind of situation. So how do you stop a situation like that from escalating? As I shared with you, this officer, and I've done some research, Chief Severa, the day or two earlier, an officer in D.C. On a police stop was shot and killed by someone. So this guy, you know, had this probably certainly in his mind. But how do you stop something like that from escalating? You know, when you get in that kind of situation.
You know, the person I've heard talk about this best is Colonel Steve Flaherty from the state police. And he relates, you know, when he talks to people about traffic stops in particular, what you've got is an officer who's out on the street, who's pulled a car over. He's got to worry about positioning his car, his or her car. He's got to make sure there's cover for him in case he gets shot at. He's got to get out on a road that he may or may not have to worry about traffic running him over. Then he's got somebody he doesn't know who's in the car. So he is already a little bit amped up with all of that going on, trying to make sure he's safe and executing what he's supposed to do. Now, you get somebody in the car who's probably nervous as well because they've been stopped by the police. You know, all of that is going on. So you've got two somewhat nervous people approaching one another. So if either one of them start to escalate, there's a real recipe for issues there. So, you know, what we try to do is make sure that everybody understands, citizen and police officer, that you got to be able to de-escalate these things.
So there's a mutual responsibility.
There's a mutual responsibility in there. I will tell you, you know, one of the things that that I know that my deputy chief has talked to his nephews and cousins about is, listen, roll the windows down, turn the lights on, put your hands on the steering wheel. Let the officer see that everything's fine. Let them be able to see into the car. Let them be able to see where your hands are, because that's what's going to make them the most nervous. then just follow the officer's instructions. And what you'll do then is bring the officer's level down. So they're not as concerned about what's going on, and maybe the interaction goes a little bit better that way.
Go ahead.
And I
Chief.
think that's what's important, that we need to help educate the public on how to react, especially on a traffic stop. And like he said, keep your hands, and if you need to reach into an area to get your driver's license, just let the officer know prior to, so everyone's aware of what's going on. And if you don't like the fact that you were pulled over, or if there was, encounter that you didn't appreciate, don't escalate the situation at that point. Just make a complaint later, and then we'll deal with it on the back end, instead of, making it grow out of control.
And locally, we've all agreed to put out a pamphlet collectively about what to expect on a traffic stop and how the officer is going to, demeanor himself or herself, and how you should demeanor yourself as well. But we also put up their contact numbers for each agency, so that if in fact you think that the officer's conduct was inappropriate, you can call us and we will deal with the issue.
You say collectively. This is a publication produced by all of you jointly?
Yes.
That's cool. That's very good. Okay, let's talk about the gritty realities of what police officers have to deal with. And let's look at crime rates. And I want to make sure we get this in before we run out of time here, because I'm getting cues. What are the crime rates like in the city of Portsmouth?
Every morning we get a Focus on 4 report, and we're looking at 4 major crimes: robbery, burglary, the larceny from and of auto, and our gun violence. So we look at that. Our supervisors, they look at that every morning and try to deploy the resources to those hotspot areas. And also once a week we have what's called CompStat, and CompStat is our computer statistics, which shows you across the week what those crime areas are. And so you try and get all the resources, whether it's your traffic unit, my mounted patrol unit, whatever units, gangs, narcotics, whatever the issues are, so we can deploy those resources to try and alleviate that crime pattern. I currently have a crime reduction initiative going on where we're looking for violent crime. We're trying to reduce our violent crime in Portsmouth. So those are some of the issues we're looking at.
Chief Goldsmith, could you briefly talk about what kind of numbers we're looking at?
Yeah, well, there's no doubt, like many other urban areas, Norfolk has seen a spike, in particular in violent crime. And through some of the same methods that Chief Chapman's talked about, looking at the morning reports, our own CompStat process, we are putting together strategies that work. We had just started a violent crime detail that seemed to have some effect. So we really provided some heavy presence. But when we provided that presence in the neighborhood, we also told the officers, this isn't about numbers. I don't want you to go out and write everybody. Yeah, there's no quota on this, because we made them report not just the number of arrests, but how many people did you talk to in a non-law enforcement situation. We want to know how many contacts you made where there wasn't a problem, because we want you out talking to the neighborhoods, just like Jim talked about. So we did that, and we've seen some positive effect with that. What we're right now doing is evaluating to see whether we can carry that forward, or whether we need to look at something a little bit different. But I have to say that, like we've seen in other places, we have seen a spike, and that's something we have to deal with.
But you're aggressively targeting that. Right. Very quickly, Chief Savera.
We're also involved in intelligence-led policing, and that is we analyze everything that happens. We only have 806 police officers for a city of 460,000 people, and then you put in a couple of million tourists every summer, so we stretch our officers as thin as they can go, but we try to react as quickly as we can to a developing crime situation. And then I have to say that we also have that resort area. For example, next weekend we'll have some 40,000 college-age young men and women in the city in one specific area of the city.
That's next weekend.
That's the weekend. Okay. And we will mobilize our officers. We'll give them the proper guidance on how to interact with large crowds. And that's besides the regular crime issues that go on in the rest of the city.
And Chief Wright.
For us, for the most part, we had been experiencing a downtrend in crime. However, the last 3-4 months have been sort of different for us. We have seen an increase in violent crime, particularly shootings. So one of the things we look at certainly is what does the data say? Not only about where it's occurring, but whom is it occurring to? What's the population? So we look at the demographics of the population. That's who is being harmed and who is doing the harm. And part of that has to do with our intelligence unit, our gang unit, and just crime information that helps us apply a better strategy to the problem. You got to remember this with crime. For the most part, we are always chasing the crime because something happens and enough of it happens to draw our attention so that we can apply the appropriate strategy. And we do a good job at it. And then the next thing you know, the criminals, they decide to change the manner in which they operate or where they operate, and then we're yet behind them again. But we are constantly being vigilant and seeing what the data says. But it's a little bit art as well, because it's not just about what the data says, it's also what does the community say? What's important to that community? And we try our best to deliver the type of service or what it is that they want us doing in their community.
So you guys are constantly adapting to a perpetually changing environment.
Yes.
And scene.
It's a giant game of whack-a-mole.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so very much for coming on today. We've actually run out of time, and I didn't get to everything I wanted to ask you, but I'm glad that we've had this opportunity to provide you with a forum in unison, in force, to talk about these very important issues that do in fact impact the public health. Thank you so very much.
Thank
you, Terry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Terrence, please.
Terrence.
Okay. We want to thank you for joining us as well. But remember, you can, if you have any questions or comments about the discussion that we've had today, you can drop me a line at terrence.affer-anderson@vdh.virginia.